Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the show. It's such a pleasure to have everybody here. How are you doing, Lynda?
I'm getting better, but I'm still not right. I've been sick for a little while. I lost my voice at one point. And it's so weird because I still have like sinus pain
Oh,
and weakness. It's weird. It's like, what the heck is this?
some sort of some sort of plague that's
Yeah,
over
I think
you.
so. I think
It's
so.
so much fun, huh?
It sucks.
Yeah. But I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad you were able to be here. I know last week, we had to cancel the show, and it is what it is. I mean, sometimes that just happens, right? Stuff comes
Yeah.
up. But it's so cool to have us here today. Well, not so much us, but everybody with us. So,
Yes.
hey,
Yes.
we're going to be talking about divination tools, and are they like a hindrance or a help during paranormal investigations?
Yeah. I
And
love
this
this
is
topic.
actually kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to this conversation with you.
Yeah, me too. I think the topic is really interesting because I've noticed sort of an uptick at our local stores in the area of people asking for things like tarot cards and pendulums and things like that. And we have a new store, like a brand new store in our area that
Oh,
sells things like this. So,
okay.
yeah, it's really exciting.
What kind of store is it? So I didn't know that you did that.
Yeah, we have a really great store. Not me, it's not my store. However, it is a friend of mine, and her name is Marion. She owns a store called Hexen Haven, which is a really cool store, and it's on Baseline Road, just outside of Sutton. And it's a witchy emporium, amazing kind of store with everything that you could need, from black salt to pendulums to pretty much
So
everything
cool.
that you're looking for. Yeah, yeah. But there is an uptick on people buying things like pendulums, which
Yeah.
I think is interesting.
So speaking of, so when we decided we were going to do the show, I decided to gather all of my divination tools that I use.
Good.
And a
Yes.
lot of people will ask me, they'll say, well, if you're a psychic or if you're a medium, why do you need tools? Well, I don't need the tools, but the tools are visual, for sometimes the client. And sometimes, and I think sometimes it freaks people out when you tell them something without a tool,
Agreed.
and so when you have a tool, you're kind of distracting, I guess, from yourself in some aspect, or you're distracting from maybe making them uncomfortable, or feeling like, oh, is this person reading my thoughts, or whatever it is, right? It kind of distracts away from yourself, I guess, is the best way to say it. And it's not that you're dumbing yourself down. I don't want anyone to think, oh, you're just dumbing yourself down or anything. It's not that. It's just about comfort for the client. And some people just have a lot of, they just prefer when you add a tool to the readings. For me, sometimes, like especially with tarot cards, what it actually does help me do is prevent myself from going too far down into a rabbit hole. So let's say you come to me and you say, I want to know blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. So it gives me more of a direction because I'm guided to which card I'm looking at.
Right.
And so I know, so I'm like, okay, blah, 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 rather than wasting somebody's time, I guess is the best way to say it. Because you're still getting to the point of what it is that you're talking about, but sometimes you might take a long route to
Yeah.
get there. And, so not everybody wants to be there. And also, too, as much as it's kind of interesting to hear maybe how much somebody can pick up about your past, the past really isn't important. And so this helps me to focus, because otherwise I can end up down a rabbit hole, and you don't need to know what happened at 2 years old, 4 years, you know what I mean? Unless it's important to the actual reading.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. I think it's a form of focus But I also think you're right in that, especially if you're using a tool on an investigation, people want that kind of validation and they want to see something that validates what they're experiencing, or if they're having issues in a particular area, they want to see a tool measure or kind of, validate what they're experiencing. And I think,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
Kathy, some are better than others, as you know.
but this is one of the reasons why so many paranormal gadgets were created too, right? So
Yeah.
the only difference is the sort of the divination tools. In not the only difference. There's going to be many differences, but one of the differences. Let's put it in that form. One of the differences is that the divination tools are more old school,
Yes.
whereas the cameras and meters and whatever they are more electronic and technology based. The one thing that um can be a hindrance, I think, with the old school like method of like the divination tools or using them as is that you know unfortunately we have fraudsters.
Yes.
And so, now, so I actually brought some, I brought all my, most of my crap, most of my
Good.
tools. And
Good.
so I am going to tell you guys something. I do make all of these. So you can go to my website or you can actually go to my Instagram, which is under Oracle Intuitions also. You can check out all of my products. I don't really have all of them on there, but just message me and say, hey, I want this, and we'll work together and make something. But so we've got the pendulums, okay, and the pendulums, now here's the thing. I really like using the pendulums. However, some people do have sort of an issue with the pendulum simply because of the fact that how do you know if it's really spirit that's talking, or is it somebody who, you know what I mean, are you just getting the information of whatever the user is wanting.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, you have to trust the person that's using the devices rather than just kind of putting it out there, turning something on and waiting for something to beep or glow or whatever. You have to trust that the person who's using them is legitimate, has integrity, is there for
Yes.
the right reasons, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, 1000%, 1000%.
Yeah. So I also brought these are new to me. I have, like we were talking before the show, I have used rods um in like graveyards, cemeteries. They have been amazingly freaking accurate, like scary accurate when we've done, just walks through the cemeteries. Will be like, just guide us to somebody, or whatever it is. And my gosh, they have been like right on par. We've even gotten names before we even got to the gravesite. you
Oh,
know
yeah. Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah, it's amazing how quickly they can be like very, very clear. And but again, it is a matter of who's using them, right?
Yeah.
And if you like you said, you can trust that person.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. But I mean, and dowsing rods, they've been used like forever, for years and years and years and years, like forever. And I mean, I still know people who live in the country who, when they're looking on their property for water, they would not go anywhere else. They get the town dowser to come out and find where the water is, because they don't trust any other form of, water witching. It's the most
Yeah.
interesting thing. So, there's something to this, and people
Well,
out there, they don't get it.
and it's interesting too, because you can really calibrate the rods
Yeah.
to kind of look for anything, like whether you want it to be minerals maybe, or like water is a very, very popular substance, but names of people on graves, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, I mean, our success rate with them has been like absolutely amazing. And I just recently started using them for more yes or no questions, because sometimes my go-to personally is the tarot.
Yeah.
Now I've been using tarot cards for, I don't even know. I'm sure there was dinosaurs.
Well, which ones do you use? Because
I
there are
actually have so I actually have several decks. This one in particular, this is one of my favorites. It's called the Black Deck.
oh, nice.
It's quite beautiful. Quite
Oh,
beautiful. Yeah,
gorgeous.
it's very, very beautiful. But there is I just don't like the traditional look. I don't like the traditional tarot deck. That's just my, personal preference, right?
Yes.
But the thing is that with the tarot, here's the thing that annoys the crap out of me. And especially since the pandemic, and we've got all these little TikTok users and these little TikTok psychics and tarot readers, or whatever the fuck they want to call themselves, excuse my language, but seriously, and they don't know, they haven't spent the time learning the tarot. The tarot is not just here's the interesting thing. I still will pick up a book from a deck, you know what I mean? Because each book may have a different way of viewing something. It
Yes.
doesn't mean I'm reading from the book, but there are times where I'm like, I'm looking at, the card, and I feel like I just want to see what this author's version of it is.
Right.
And every once in a while, I'll take a look. But if you're not learning from the tarot every time you're doing a reading, you might as well just put them away.
I
Because
agree.
every reading for me is it's a new learning experience, even though I've been doing this for decades now, right? And but I absolutely love the tarot. The problem is like I said, you see these people on TikTok, and they might hold up a card, which is like, let's say, for instance, the Three of Swords. Now, if anyone knows the tarot, they know exactly what the Three of Swords is, and this is probably one of the worst cards in the deck. And it represents sadness, despair, sorrow, somebody's heartbreaking, whether that's coming up or whether it's current, or somebody just getting over something, or whatever it is. And they'll be like, oh, he loves you so much. And you're like, oh my fuck. And these people are paying for this crap.
I know. But don't forget, I mean, during the pandemic exclusively, people were looking for something to do.
Yes, for
And
grabbing onto. Yeah.
right. And they were looking for something that they could do remotely that would make them some cash.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who did all kinds of stuff like that during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I think, as with everything, it's all about the intention, the time, the energy, and the passion that
I
you put
agree
into
with that.
something. Yeah.
I do agree with that. However, that would be, for people that actually do it as a living,
Yeah.
you're taking away from my craft, where I've spent decades on
Yeah.
learning. And so when you're like throwing I love that. That's 100. Yes, that's exactly it. I'm gonna put this up. Yeah, everybody became a Reiki master. 100%. That's exactly it. Everybody a
Yeah.
Reiki master, or some
Yeah.
whatever nonsense it was that they. But without the experience, you could it's sort of like me saying, "Oh, okay, I'm going to become an online doctor."
That's right.
I mean, I don't want to take away from doctors by saying my tarot is, equate to, right? But, there's a lot of people that, watch YouTube videos and think that they're a freaking mechanic.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? So, you're kind of taking away from the trade, right? And people, became a trade for, or a financial advisor, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, and so, again, I'm not trying to equate what I do to, like a surgeon or anything like that. I would never do that. But it is, there are things that you learn in the process of,
Yeah, but I do think that because it's esoteric, because it's something, kind of out there,
Yeah.
people love that because you can so easily pull the wool over someone's eyes when they don't understand it. And I think that's the issue too. I mean, someone like you you've spent years and years and years mastering the craft. It's difficult, to kind of fathom that somebody out there could just take one lesson, buy a deck, read the book, and just go, oh yeah, I got this. I got
Yeah,
this. It's
yeah,
easy.
yeah. And especially when it's like, when it's a series of cards too. I mean, anybody can, read one card, but when it's a series of cards, how do you put them together? What are you looking at? What's the message that's coming through? What is the necessary? And then I've, actually here. So I actually, and I'm gonna call someone out on this.
Okay, go for it.
So I was doing readings on my channel a few years ago, like a couple of years ago, where I was doing live readings. And my original partner, Brandon, he was amazing. He was an amazing reader. I love him. I just love him. Absolutely love him. But I had another lady that came on, and she became kind of a regular. And one of the things that she used to do was tell people, well, she would say things like, people would want to know, is this going to turn into a relationship or something like that? And she'd be like, well, maybe for a little while, but not long term. Or I don't see that relationship lasting, or I don't see your marriage lasting, or I don't see this happening. And I said to her, okay, like, this is my channel. You've got to stop.
Right.
You got to stop this, because it's not up to us to decide. You can let somebody know that you do see something happening between them, but things are not set in stone. Fate is not fate. Like, people like to use that fate word. It's not up to you whether or not somebody's relationship is going to be short term or long term.
Right.
You get
Exactly.
into that. I'll let somebody know, yes, I can see the relationship if both of you are wanting to enter into this. And then you give the pros and the cons, and some of the generalization, I guess, is the best way to say it. But it's not up to you to say. And she's even told people, well, you could be with him for 5 years and he's going to cheat on you. Okay, none of this ever happened. So you're basically saying to somebody, why even waste my time going into this? Because and then you're just going to have somebody who's walking around being completely paranoid because this person is cheating on them, or people, you know what I'm getting at? And it's like, no, you got to cut this down. You actually got to shut this down. And so,
Wow. But
yeah, I was really getting upset, because that's not the way that you conduct a reading, a proper reading. You know what I mean?
no.
It's
Okay.
things are not set in fate, not set in stone, and you're there for a guide.
Well, and we all have free will. So I mean, when you put the cards down for somebody, um, what you're saying to them is, if the path continues along the same trajectory, the possibility that something like this may happen is great. However, you are the one that has the ability to change this. You have free will. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand, is that what they really want is they want someone to say, you will meet a tall, dark stranger, or you will have a beautiful relationship that will last 45
He's going to
years.
be walking the moors in
Right?
Ireland, and you're just, you know what I mean? And all of
Exactly.
this stuff. But, I mean, I'm sure, well, actually, okay, I'm not going to lie. I actually had something like that happen. I'm not going to lie. It's not very common, but I did tell a client, this was about, 15 years ago, I guess. I said to her, I suggested to her, like, because she was going to go on a vacation, and she goes, how do you feel like about this happening? And I said, oh my God, I think you're going to meet somebody there. Like, if you don't, that's good. Maybe it just means that, he's coming in, or this person's coming in, or whatever it is, but literally she met somebody. They're still together. They were from Jamaica, and it's an amazing relationship. Yeah. But it, like, things like that, not always happen, right? Like, you got to be open when you're having a reading, right?
Yes.
It's more like, like giving the, you ask a question and somebody will say, is my marriage going to last? Or am I going to get married to this person? That's not up to me. That's up to you to decide. I can't tell you that you're going to marry. What if I say yes, and then you find out that this person is a cheater, abusive? There's things that we don't always see.
No,
I can't tell you that he's a jerk. Like, I can tell you for the most part he might be a jerk, but maybe you like jerks. Maybe at that moment in your life you're into jerks. Like, who knows, right? But then you decide later on, like, I don't want to be with this jerk.
Yes.
And then you change your mind on it. So that's not up to me to tell you whether or not you're going to marry somebody or you're going to live happily ever after. It's like day to day. I can tell you the pros and the cons of the personality and what I'm seeing, but that's it. Yeah. But I love what Mario had to say here. He says, one thing the pandemic did do, which was unfortunate, was create that mistrust in doctors. Absolutely. 100%. And I think Mario is kind of on the same page with me when I say, like, unfortunately, what happened is there was a lot of doctors that tried to speak their truth about a lot of things, and they were shut down and, pretty much told, no, you can't talk about this because that's not the narrative that we've got going out.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I know my mom's stroke doctor pretty much said that. I can only tell you this was because of this.
Yeah.
I can't say anything more, because if I say anything more,
yeah.
I might not be a doctor.
God.
Right?
Well, so I have a question.
Yes. Let me just read these first. So Mario says, even suggesting something like that can sow the seeds that lead to that negative outcome of their own manifestation.
Yeah.
That's the exact perfect way of saying it. Thank you, Mario. That's exactly it. And that's why I don't like, it's, it's like people ask about other people dying or if they're sick or something like that. I can scan the body. I can look at things that might be triggering within the person, but I can't tell you that you're going to die or you're going to do this. That's to God. That's not me. There are things that I might say to you, look at, go get this checked. Or I feel this in a body I think I've done that with one of you guys, like, it's like, I feel this, is this happening? Go, you know what I mean? Not with you, but someone else or whatever.
Yes.
But, go get this checked, or maybe this is something to pay attention to or whatever. But, it's not up to me to say, like, or any reader to say, oh, this is what's happening. Right.
No, it's not.
He says, oh, a vacation, like, say, to the Emerald Isle, Land of Fae. Oh, that would be wonderful.
I would like that.
I want to go there. I love that. So, okay, what was your question?
Well, all right. So when we talk about divination, I mean, inevitably, when we get called on an investigation every once in a while, it's because something was conjured up, brought in, manifested with the use of a spirit board. So let's talk a little bit about spirit boards, shall we?
So one of the things that I actually just started creating, I am going to show everybody. This could go either way. It could go good. It could go bad. We're not 100% sure. But I did make this. It is out of resin, but I also added amethyst to it. And when I allow the resin to cure, I actually play 432 hertz. So basically, this does bring positive energy into the board itself and into the crystals, and it's during the curing during the curing process. So
Oh,
this is it glowing in the dark, because I did make it glowing in the dark,
wow.
or to be able to glow in the dark, right?
Beautiful.
And you just put a UV light on it and it glows in the dark. This is the planchette.
Wow.
And the board itself is about 14 inches across, and I think it's 9 in width, I believe. And
That's,
then you can see the amethyst in the corner,
yes.
where the yes is, and then down here
Yep.
in the corner again, and then this is again it glowing in the dark.
Oh,
So
gorgeous.
yeah, so oopsie, how do I meant to get rid of that. Okay, here we go. But yeah, so Ouija boards, I don't know exactly. I'm not a big fan of Ouija boards. I'll be honest. Like, and when I like my Ouija boards.
Yes, I like yours too.
And thank you, Mario. You're so sweet. The boards are beautiful. That is so nice.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. Um, but I to be honest, like, I think that if I didn't infuse it with as much energy as I did of positivity, I personally probably wouldn't create them.
I
If
like
that
that.
makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. Makes total sense because you and I both know that by using them, you can bring in a lot of rogue spirit energy. However, having said that, it truly is how you use it and who uses it. Are you using it effectively and correctly? Are you shutting down the session correctly? And the fact that you do infuse it with a lot of positivity, I mean, do you feel that because you've done that, you are attracting a different kind of energy when people are using it?
I like what Mario has to say here. And I think he kind of says it perfectly. He says, now I see nothing wrong with the boards. It's us. We are the proponents, the
Mhm,
antenna. I
mhm.
100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I put the positivity for me personally, or the like the crystals into the boards,
Mhm.
what I feel is that for the person itself, I'm hoping that they are grounded,
Yes.
that they're in a positive state, and that they're in a place where they're able to connect with spirit, not in a negative sense or a negative manner. So that's, I guess, for me, that's my hope for it. It says here, we are just the channel, we just channel the energy into the board. I 100% agree with that. And Spooky, hello Spooky, she goes, I have a few boards, I love them so much, but I also give them love and take care of them 100%. And I know it seems kind of weird, that people will say, well, it's just a board, it's just this, it's just that. I feel, going back, I feel it's 100% our intentions, but our intentions run off of our subconscious.
Yeah.
So if our subconscious is in a negative energy or in a negative space, we are going to project that outwards.
Totally agree. Totally agree. That's why you have to be careful. That's why, and we always say this, right? You have to be respectful. And that is like number one, whenever you're using any kind of divination device, whatever it happens to be, you have to have the right intention and you have to be respectful. And so many people, they don't follow that. And of course, you
Yeah.
know what happens.
I would like to ask Mario and Spooky Queen, do either of you use divination tools during your investigation? I'd like to hear your comments on them. Because, oh, he says, just as we asked the question, my dog keeps jumping on me to take him out. It's snowing. Not an unwilling teenager. I would summon that unwilling teenager.
I would too.
Yeah. It's like, this is your dog.
Yeah, that's right.
It's your dog when it needs to
Your
go
dog
outside.
too.
But yeah, I'm curious about that. If anybody's, anybody who's watching it, let us know. Do you use divination tools during your investigations, or even within your home, or whatever it is, right? So
So,
yeah, do you use them, Lynda?
I do. I do use dowsing rods, and there are a lot of people out there that would argue that a lot of the devices that we do use, like spirit boxes and all of that, are also divination devices in their own right. And I think that that's quite true because, again, it's how you use it, it's who uses it, it's your intention while you're using it. And you have to be respectful at all times. But I have to say, we know how we have our free meetings, right? We have our paranormal meetings every
Yeah.
month. We had one of the best guest speakers that we've ever had. This is a few years ago. Her name was Susan Collins, and she is a professional dowser. Now, she blew everybody away because not only is she a professional dowser, but she also talks about orb energy when she's dowsing and the ability to actually bring that energy to her while she is using the dowsing rods. And she also talks about dowsing. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy, but look it up. Dowsing for alien energy and uncovering
Oh,
alien energy. She's
that's interesting.
It's fascinating. She's actually published quite a few books. And I believe if you look her up, I think it's Susan Collins Dowser,
Okay.
Dowser. She does have a lot of published books that she sells that are fascinating. And she talks a lot about dowsing for alien energy. And if you're
Wow.
into UFOs and aliens,
Yeah.
that is the most fascinating thing. But I think you can douse for just about anything. You were talking about that. You can program them to basically do for you what you need doing, and I think that's the most fascinating.
I want a millionaire.
I want a million out of it.
A billionaire. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Let's say a billion.
trillionaire, trillion.
Lead me. Lead me. Take me to your leader.
I love it. I love it.
No, I think that's fascinating. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would be interesting. So when we talk about alien energy, is she like towards people, or how, like, what is she looking for? Like, how does she even do that?
It's a good question. It's been a while since I've actually dusted off the books and read them again, but she can tune into alien energy through dowsing. And you got to read her books because,
Yeah.
so many people believe that a lot of orb anomalies can be alien in nature, and in
Okay.
substance. So I think that's part of what she is trying to explain in a lot of her books. But I do have to say that a lot of the pictures that were taken when she was doing her guest speaking with our group, there were a ton of orbs that were photographed,
Wow.
and that people actually saw with their naked eye during her speaking engagement with us, which kind of blew me away. So
That's pretty crazy. Hey,
I
it's
know.
amazing how that shows up. I like what Mario has to say here. Alien energy. You didn't mention this to me. You
Ah,
guys are going to have a talk about that.
we got to
Um,
talk.
I like this, what Spooky Queen says. We use them a lot during all of ours. In Gooding, it is a huge hit with the um, public as well. And it's the dowsing rods, I think she's talking about, are a
Oh
huge
yeah.
hit during during the Gooding investigations, which we're supposed to be there in April.
Well,
We'll see.
well,
I Mario says I have boards. I don't use them. I have pendulums, oracle deck and the techie divination, just like Lynda is saying. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. Okay, let's talk about them being on investigations for a second.
Yes.
So I think with me personally, and I'm sure that we've all experienced this, you know what I mean? But I know that here in Edmonton, we've had some real crap groups. Okay. Like,
How do you really feel?
yeah. Like, what's my real thought on it? And, people that are just, I mean, I remember, there's this one group that has a medium. I don't know if she's still a medium now or anything like that, but, she'd be like, oh, I see a leprechaun and his name is Lucky. Like, oh, you're fucking kidding. Like, shut the fuck, like, go sit down. Like, I can't with you.
I can't.
I just can't right now. That kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
But, people people eat it up, right?
Yep, they do. They really do.
And, and so I think that if somebody was to come in and conduct an investigation with just divination tools, with just a Ouija board, just dowsing rods, just whatever it was, because I think that they're a useful tool, but they're a useful tool when combined with,
Yeah.
right? And so, it's a combination of when you've got the camera, when you've got the dowsing rods, when you've got, the Ouija board, if you can incorporate all of them. We did one investigation. This was this was just a crazy investigation. This is actually the one, remember when we had Chris on the show? I don't know if you remember, it was this time, I think it was before we had Chris McKinnell on the show. And there is this one, there was this one investigation that him and I had talked about that I had been on. And even to this day, he's still like, that freaks me out. Like that investigation freaks me right out. And that was because I kept hearing something coming, like calling me from the basement. Like it's not so much calling me, but it was like a feeling. I had to go down there. I had to go down there. I had to go down there. Yes. And then when I did, and I went with another investigator, the other team couldn't find us. Like we were like gone, like not gone, like we were fine. We were just doing our investigation, but we were like practically sitting in front of these people and they could not see us.
That's so weird.
And it was so creepy. And then afterwards we thought about it and, not thought about it. Like when I got home, I was starting to shake because I was like, what if I went down there on my own?
Oh God.
What if I did go on my own? Right. But during that investigation, we all kind of divided up into different rooms, and it was just one of those really cool investigations where the clients had just kind of given us the key. They were going out of town. Here, take the key. You guys go do whatever you want so we didn't have to, what, like a lot of times the clients want to stay in the house or they want to be a part, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But, then you're kind of like, you're kind of doing an official, like a formal investigation. So we still had cameras up and we still had the regular equipment, but we thought this would be a great place to bring in the things that we normally don't use during it. Like, like again, the dowsing rods or the Ouija boards, that sort of thing. And, we know how to close everything down. We know how to leave the property safe and protected, right?
Yes.
But that was the craziest investigation.
That's
so Mario says here, I have some very interesting footage that was submitted to me by a client. It involves a mysterious mist, and what's in the mist is just fascinating. Hey, Mario, would you be willing to come on the show next week and show us this? I'm trying to do a cute face.
I like it. I like it. I'd like that too. That'd be really good.
Right? Yeah. If you're willing to come on the show next week, that would be amazing. We would love to see some of your footage. Spooky Queen, we would love to have you on the show sometime too, in the future. Maybe if you're ever willing to do that. She says, I am curious of what you might get in Gooding. Yeah. You know what? I think that will be a really interesting, I think it'll be a really interesting trip. One of the things I don't want to do is because I keep hearing about, about the investigation there, but I don't want to hear anything about the investigation.
Right.
Like, well, like all I've heard so far is that it's really crazy and it's really good. Like, you know what I mean? Like you guys get really good footage, but I don't want to know the details.
No.
I don't want to know any details. And then when we get there, see if what I pick up from it matches what has happened in the past, right? I think that would be cool. Of course, pareidolia can be one explanation, but sometimes it's too neat an explanation. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's an out, right? That a lot of paranormal investigators will just take because they don't really want to face the fact that they might be seeing something that they can't explain. And I do think that that's an out that a lot of them take. So Mario, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly. So Gooding, Ohio, it has an inn that used to be an old tuberculosis hospital, which is kind of cool. With permission, yes, I'll speak to the person. Yeah, and then, I mean, if you talk to her and she's interested in coming on to the show as well, maybe the both of you would be, if that's something that you both would like to do, we would absolutely love to have you. Just let me know, or let Lynda know, whatever. Like, let us know soon.
Yes,
put it that way.
So very
And Spooky Queen says lips are sealed. Yay. Yeah, because I like to go in and I'd rather do something cold, kind of like just cold and see what comes through.
What's interesting, we were talking about divination tools during an investigation, and the only time in my 44 years that I've ever seen anybody use tarot cards during an investigation was at an investigation just outside of Montreal when I was still living there. We didn't know too much about the entity that was upsetting the client in the home. We didn't know too much at all. So it was very interesting because the person that I was working with at the time, and I was really young, I was like 18 going on 19, brought in their very best friend who was a reader. And it was a very interesting experience because we sat by ourselves in a room with this reader who was trying to find out what was going on because we weren't getting a lot of answers from the entity. And I mean, at that time, we didn't have all the tools we have now. We didn't have the spirit boxes and we didn't have any of those things. So the tarot reader was very instrumental in speaking with the entity. And she would ask things like, okay, I want to know, what's your story? And she would, do a 3-card spread. And she would piece together the information that was given to her through the cards. And it was fascinating.
I think though too, it's kind of like what I was saying at the beginning. It allows you a focus.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Right. It gives you a focus. And then again, some people, it freaks them out when you just sort of blah, 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 blah. And they're like, you know what I mean? It gives them that heebie-jeebies. I think that's fascinating that she can do that. I just want to say, Peter, he came on and he's like, good evening, ladies. Oh, so wonderful. So my stuff, like my Ouija board, is going to be on Peter's website. I don't know, Peter, if you can put the link down or just give us the name of the site, that would be great. So I can put it onto the screen. But this is where you're going to be able to purchase it. And he's so
Thank
sweet.
you.
Yeah, if you can do that for me, Peter, that would be amazing. Yeah, because like I said, the Ouija board, there'll be different versions. You should see my basement right now because I'm like everything is.
You're a creative person. You're supposed to have creative messes, that.
There's things that are curing all over my basement right now, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Nobody disturb the resin. Nobody disturb the resin.
Out of the basement. Don't let the cat in the basement.
Oh my God. Yes. So fun. Yeah. So Peter, if you can put that, put the name of your site down below, I would really appreciate it. But yeah, I just feel like I said, I think that divination tools can absolutely work on an investigation. But
Yes.
I think, I think I would take the divination tool as a last over, the photography, the, EVPs, the all of that. That would be sort of hopefully they all connect with each other,
Yes.
like what
Agreed.
the divination. And I think it would be interesting to have the divination tool. I think it would be interesting to have like a camera on somebody using the divination tools, but
Yes.
not knowing what the rest of the team is picking up in another area of the home.
Kind of like a divination Estes method.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Agreed.
exactly it. Peter, you got to give me the site. He's like, there's a 40% off Christmas sale. Yes, pre-Christmas sale, which is awesome.
Nice.
But give me the site. Put the site down below because I don't have the site here.
He will. He
Yeah,
will.
he will.
I'm
He
sure.
will.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I think that would be cool. I think that would be the way to do it because again, it's kind of like when you're using a psychic or a medium on an investigation. I
Yes.
feel like they should not be a part of the actual investigation. They should be either brought in before or brought in afterwards. No, all it says is it's on the previous message. Did I miss it?
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't see it.
Okay. Okay.
Keep just
Uh,
type it in.
yeah, all it says is like the 40. That's the only one that I got. I don't see
Yes.
the actual website name though.
No, I don't either.
Um, but yeah, I think it would be too easy. It's like again, like because really, when you use a psychic or a medium, that's a tool.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? We were talking about that, I think, on another show. You have to understand and I'm going to say believe and trust the psychic medium that you're working with. Because if you don't, you don't know what's you don't know what's happening. So you have to trust the psychic medium that you're working with. But again, if you're working in a location, let's say, where the psychic medium can use divination tools like tarot cards or anything like that to communicate with the entity or entities that are there, that is a very useful tool. And I do think you're right, Kathy, if you try and match it up with some of the more sort of modern tools that people use, like the spirit boxes or using an EVP, doing an EVP in another room, and matching up the responses that you get, it would be a fascinating experiment. I mean, it really
Yeah,
would. I'd love to do
yeah,
that.
absolutely. Mario said when we're talking about this, that they're just a tool, and he goes, "Some are really tools."
Yes, that's true.
Some
Some are really tools. You're absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm going to actually write this down. Oh, okay, here we go. So I'm just going to put this into the site here and, check out his store because it's pretty amazing, quite honestly.
You know what? We have a couple of things from Pete's store. We have his Wren pod, love that. And we've used it on a couple of investigations, and it's phenomenal. So, yes, thank you, Pete. There we go. Perfect.
How come it's not showing?
Ghost Gears store.
That is so weird. It's not. Oh, there it is. Okay, Ghost Gear Store at .etsy.com.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you, Peter. Spooky Queen says our team has too much, almost too much like tools. You mean? Probably. you
Yeah.
know?
I
Yeah.
think you can have too much. I think, people negate the fact that the best tool that you can use going in is yourself, right?
Absolutely. And now here's a question.
Hmm.
For those that do use tools, do you, you know how we every team, every investigator is going to do it a little bit differently. Like some people will go in and ask for protection. We'll open the energy, close the energy before we leave, however it is. So do you do that with your tool? So let's say you bring the dowsing rods. Do you close up the energy afterwards? Do you cleanse the energy?
Yeah, we do, for sure.
Okay.
I think it's important to do that. I mean, wherever you are, you should always do that. And you should always, of course, leave the energy where it is. You don't want anything following you home. You don't want any attachments. You don't want anything like that, because it's happened to me and I vowed that it will never happen again.
What happened when that happened to you?
It was a weird thing because we were testing equipment in a cemetery, which we thought was the best place to test our brand new equipment, which it was, because we got
Right.
some incredible, incredible evidence. But the problem was that it started to rain and we panicked and put all of the equipment away, ran into the cars, took shelter, went home. I did anyway, and ran out of my car, ran into my house with everything. And I did not say, whoever is following me, if there's anybody that's following me, you are not to follow me. This is my house and I don't allow you to cross the threshold. Didn't do that. I completely forgot in my haste to get in the house. And then what happened was I was getting ready for bed, got into bed. And as soon as I got into bed, turned out the light, I knew that there was somebody standing next to my bed, like a very large, dark figure that had
Wow.
followed me home. And I had to get rid of it. I had to tell it, you are not allowed to be here and you need to live.
Wow.
Thankfully, it did. But I was afraid that it wouldn't, because it was a very strong energy. But I did, I didn't really threaten it. I just said, if you don't leave, I'm going to have to make you leave. And I don't want to have to do that. So you need to go. And it did, thankfully. And of course, my husband, he's used to me talking to the air. He didn't even move.
Yeah.
Didn't even say anything. And then, of course, about 10 minutes later, all he said was, in a very soft voice, "Is it gone?" Yes, it was gone.
Yeah.
Poor
It's
Ralph.
we've
Poor.
only I had it happen a couple of times, but the first time was kind of, oh, that was such a crazy investigation. And this woman's child was, I wouldn't say teenager. He was really being, kind of haunted, like really bugged, like a lot of things were really going off, like more in his room. And it was, it was just, she didn't know what was happening. She was actually, funny enough, she was actually a cop. And so she had all kinds of shit happening. And so she's got all of the devices behind her, to figure out, like, is this a stalker? Is this, is this that? You know what I mean? Like she's got her own tools, off of, in another sense, kind of thing.
Yes.
But it turned out that so we went in, and it wasn't really a full investigation. We were just basically checking out the place first before we decided whether we were going to do an investigation, talk, doing a prelim. And then we got home, and I tell you, I knew right away that something had, like, it was just, I've never been, I was like, I'm gonna end up in the hospital. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, smashing into stuff. Like, I felt like I was being pushed. You know what I mean? It was like you'd pick up a glass and you could feel your hand, like, you know what I mean? It was like, okay. And I was like, okay, this is enough. Like, I don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
but this is enough. Like, enough is enough, right? And this is really before I could pick up things, but I wasn't where I was now, I guess is the best way to say it. Like
Yes.
this was a new thing picking up on spirits and all of that. So I didn't really, but we did have a medium on the team who was quite good. And, it was interesting. It turns out in the end, long story short, but it turns out that the person that was haunting us had committed suicide.
Really?
But they were kind of protecting the teenager. So they weren't there in a negative sense. They were there in a protective sense.
Gotcha.
And they were scared that because we were brought in that we were going to try to get rid of him or cleanse him out or remove him or whatever it was, which we don't do. We never did. And so once we kind of explained, like, if you're here as protection, as long as you're not bugging everybody and you're, blah, blah, blah. Never heard from them again. Like everything, well, they told us like, a few months later, like everything was good, but we never heard from them in regards to having to come back. They just said that things had really quieted down. She felt a lot safer knowing that her son had sort of like a guardian, I guess was the best way to say it.
Nice.
But he was really coming. It wasn't just me though. He would kind of went to all of the investigators and was pulling crap, in all of our houses. And it was more or less like to try to scare us away from going back. It was really interesting.
That is interesting. But I mean, you know what? You are in death what you were in life. So, you have a lot of the same characteristics. Therefore, if you be paranoid about somebody sending you away, well, of course, you're going to feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you might have a deeper understanding of things from another perspective, right? But there is still going to be a lot of the sense and the characteristics and the behavior and thoughts and all of that. And he was really, once, to our knowledge, he was at peace because a lot of things, just sort of stopped. And like I said, that, she felt better in regards to her son. She felt like her son was safe. She just felt really strong. And this guy was a close friend to the son.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Huh. He didn't affect him in the sense of like not being able to move on. It was just like a sense of security, I guess, to some degree, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And then another time was, but this was funny, is that we had gone out. It was previously native land, right? And it was a friend of mine, and they had the property, but they still really respected the land itself. Like there was a lot of respect towards the land. And we had gone out there, and it was crazy. It was crazy. I was standing there, and the investigator that I went with, he put tobacco down and as an offering. And as we were standing there, these shapes, I was like, I thought at first I was like losing my mind, but you could see these shapes coming through like the tree line. And one of them was just massive. Like, he's like, don't be scared. I'm like, no, this thing is huge. I'm going to be a little scared. He's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Just be calm. I couldn't see particularly the faces until more in my head. I could see the faces, but not with my face. You know what I mean? Like not with my eyes. But interesting enough. So this one was kind of apparently making fun of me, not making fun of me, but like kind of goofing around. Like it was just a young one. And, probably like an older teenager. And I'd be talking and he was like sticking his tongue out at me and kind of just being a goof. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so when we left, this was so fascinating because when we left, we walked back to the car and we said thank you to everyone. And, we truly appreciated the experience with them. We walked back to the car, and as I'm getting into the front seat. On the front seat is this huge white feather.
Oh, wow.
I was like, there was no, like, we were out in the freaking bush of nowhere. There's no way that this, you know what I mean? Truck was locked. Like this, I'm just like, holy shit. This feather is just sitting on the passenger side, like we're at, my seat. I
Wow.
was in tears. Like I was literally in tears because it was just such an amazing, beautiful experience. But then when we got home, I noticed like funny little things like, you know, there was writing on my, not writing, but it was marks from my like lipstick on my bathroom counter, and just, you would pour a glass of water and the glass would fall over and stuff like that. And I think he just kind of came home to kind of goof around, but he didn't stay. It was literally like a couple of days of just goofy kind of stuff to let me know that he was there. And then he just went on his own. I didn't even have to ask him to leave or anything.
Wow. That's really cool.
So crazy, so crazy. The things that when you tap into that paranormal world, hey, it's like the things that it just, I don't know.
It's
It's just
cool.
beautiful. It's beautiful. Like,
It
you know
is.
what I mean? Sometimes it's really, really beautiful, right?
It totally is. I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Mariel says we are good to go next Sunday. I am so excited. Mario, you'll just have to just email me all the details with your client too, and we will put that show together. I'm so excited about that.
Me
So
too.
looking forward to it. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you, would there be room for a potential third person? Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I can put 10 people on this stream. So by all means, absolutely. Just let me know. Just give me all of the details and we are good to go. We can bring everybody on. So I'm excited about that. Thank you everybody for being here. Make sure that you check out the Ghost of Gear store, Peter's store. And thanks everyone for watching. And we are going to see you next week. It's going to be a good show. We already know what's happening. So I'm so excited.
You do.
Thanks everyone and take care. Have a great night.